What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. I'm your host. I'm Caitlin Kenneth-Smith, and on today's episode of the podcast, I wanted to do a couple things. Number one, I wanted to give a little bit of an update on where I'm at currently on my journey, because last week when I spoke all about, the different things that I would recommend or that I would tell myself when I first started my fitness journey, I started off the episode with a little bit of an update where I'm at with a back injury, where I'm at with Stone not being here, and kind of where I'm at mentally with everything that's going on in my life when it comes to building the business, building my coaching, being the best coach I can be for my clients, and becoming an athlete, as well as taking care of myself. So I want to give you guys a little bit of an update on that, because there's a lot of things that have happened over the past week, and I feel like a lot of people, it's not that they necessarily care what's going on in my life, but it's teaching them how to become more resilient in theirs. Like I say all the time on this podcast, the biggest mission for the podcast is to be able to teach you guys through my own experience. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that I'll research and we'll kind of talk about through there, but a lot of this stuff comes from what I'm currently going through or what I've went through in my life and what I've learned from those experiences, because experience, adversity, those are some of the best teachers. Like I always talk about pain and struggle being the best teachers as well, but those 4 teachers, they're like an elite team, right? Because you can only learn so much in a textbook or reading books. You can learn a lot, but there's nothing that does more than going through something and being able to learn from those experiences and then being able to teach other people so that they can themselves become better and they can themselves learn from your mistakes and they can get better faster because they don't have to go through the same hurdles or mistakes that you went through. So I want to give you a little bit of an update on that, as well as kind of jumble in a little bit of a story and a lesson that I learned from this experience, okay? So number one, a little bit of an update of where I'm currently at. So this week, I ended up taking 2 rest days, Saturday and Sunday of last week. It is currently Saturday of the following week. And then I went into a deload week. So what a deload week is, it's when we reduce volume in order to facilitate recovery. And it's a very beneficial thing if you're somebody who's consistent with their training. So if you're a fitness fanatic or if you're somebody who trains hard often, like you're in the gym every day, you're in the gym consistently 5 days a week, it will be really beneficial for you to take a deload week every, 12, 16 weeks, really depending on the person, especially if you are feeling more run down, you're not sleeping well, maybe your life is a little bit more stressful outside of the gym, or if you're an athlete, it's extremely important because athletes are always going hard when they're training, so it's important to pull back a little bit in order to facilitate more recovery, more muscle growth, and give yourself a break, not just physically, but mentally, because it does take a lot out of you to train at a high level. Now, if you're somebody who is very inconsistent with their training, like you work out for a week and then you don't, and then you work out for a week and then you don't, well, you're kind of giving yourself your own deload by not being consistent, so that's not something you have to worry about. The thing that I fear with deloads always, because it wasn't until I started working with my current coach, Eric, that we started implementing them, and we don't implement them often. We probably should implement them more often. However, when I am feeling more run down or when I'm not recovering or when I'm injured, it's important to be able to pull back for a little bit in order to move forward and not stay stuck. So this is something, again, that I never implemented until I started working with my current coach, Eric, who I've been working with for about 2 years. And I remember when he first programmed me at deload week, he texted me. So he emails me my programming every day. So every single day I'll get an email from Eric. It's almost like Christmas morning when I get his emails to see what kind of pain and torture I'm going to put myself through today. But real talk, I get super excited about every single email that I see with Eric's name on it. When he first programmed me at deload week, he texted me and said, "Hey, heads up, we're going to do a deload week, so don't freak out when you look at your programming." And so, of course, I looked at my programming and I did indeed freak out, because in my mind, I was going to lose all of my progress. I was going to gain body fat. I started freaking out about, oh no, do I have to reduce the amount of calories and carbs that I'm eating because I'm not training as hard? All of these negative thoughts go through your brain because you're so used to this routine And myself being a high achiever, and a lot of people who listen to this also being in that same mindset, probably think the same thing. Like, oh my gosh, I can't do less, because if I do less, then I'm going to lose progress, or I'm going to be missing out. But the truth is, after a week goes by, nothing negative happens. In fact, only positive things come from a deload week from my experience. Sometimes you feel a little bit more sore, you feel a little bit more lethargic and tired during a deload week, and that's simply because cortisol, our stress hormone, might become reduced a little bit, so your body's more aware of aches and pains or soreness or tiredness because you don't have that cortisol kind of masking all of that. But then the next week you come back into training and you just feel reset, you feel fresh, you feel stronger, you feel mentally good. So in my experience, deloads are really challenging while you're going through them. However, when you're finished with them and you go into a new week of training, you feel unbelievably refreshed and your body feels really good as well. So, took a deload week because the last time we spoke, podcast, I know you didn't speak to me, but I spoke to you. The last time that you guys listened to an episode where I was updating you on my life was when I was talking about the things that I would say to myself, or that I wish I knew when I first started my fitness journey. And at the beginning of that episode, I was hurting. It was on one of the rest days. It was on that Saturday. And on that Friday is when I really, really, really messed up my back again. So 2 weeks prior to that, I really messed it up by doing some squats, walking on the beach, and just not resting it. And it kind of just kept nagging because I never properly rested it. So it would feel good, and then I would do a lot of squats and training, and it would feel lit up again. And then there would be nights where I was tossing and turning because my hips would go numb, and the nerves would start tingling, and it wouldn't feel good. And then that Friday, I did a workout combined with heavy thrusters and GHD sit-ups that completely messed me up to the point where Friday night, last Friday, I could barely get off the couch, and Saturday morning I woke up and could barely get out of bed, and I was so fucking defeated. Like, I cannot even tell you how down and depressed and anxious I felt in that moment. And looking back now, I was feeling sorry for myself. And I did catch it, but I'll get to that. So I woke up in a lot of pain. And my coach Eric told me, rest day, we're not doing anything. So I knew that I needed to get a little bit of movement in, because when it comes to lower back injuries specifically, if you sit around and do nothing, or if you lay around and do nothing, usually things just tighten up and it becomes much worse. So I knew that if I went on just a nice stroll, it would probably loosen up a little bit and feel a lot better. So I looked outside. It looked beautiful out. Sun was shining. I was like, okay, well, at least that sunshine is going to probably feel good on my skin. It's going to probably help with these emotions that I'm feeling right now, right? Because I almost just felt like in an impending state of doom. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that feeling where you feel like there's no hope, like, oh my gosh, this is awful. And again, you feel sorry for yourself. But I was like, you know what can I control in this situation? I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to move a little bit, just go on a nice low-key walk, no weight vest, no ruck, just me and my body, and just put on a good podcast and just listen and loosen up my back. And then, of course, as I was getting ready, like 10 minutes later after I looked outside, it was raining. And welcome to Florida. No surprise there. 'Tis the season. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I threw on my rain jacket, I put my hood up, and I just walked. And the rain eventually stopped, and it was unbelievably hot, but I left my rain jacket on, put my hood up, because I was really emotional and really just in a dark place. And I didn't want to look at anyone. I didn't want anybody to look at me. I just wanted, like, hood up, like, put my head down, look at my feet as I walk, and just move, because I was also in an incredible amount of pain as well. Every little step was like a sharp pain. And as I was walking back home, a couple people were riding by on their bikes. So it was a guy who was clearly the father, and then two young kids. And the father looked at me. We made eye contact briefly, and he just smiled at me and said, "Good morning." And you know, it's unbelievable what one little interaction can do for you. And this is why when I'm out, when I'm seeing people at the grocery store, at the gas station, at First Watch, at Whole Foods, wherever I'm going, I always make it intentional to smile at people, to talk to people, to say, good afternoon, good morning, how's your day? To make sure that I'm not just going through the motions when it comes to interactions with other human beings, because I know from personal experience, such as this one, and from working in a gym for 10 years and interacting with people all the time, one interaction can change somebody's life, can change somebody's day, can make their day. And I'm sure that you can relate to this in some way, that you can think to a moment where somebody smiled at you, where somebody gave you a comment, when somebody asked you how you were and like actually cared, how good that made you feel. My intent when I have a conversation with a client, when I have a client call, when I have a conversation with them over text, when I talk to somebody, a friend, somebody that I care about, or even just somebody who I see in the grocery store, like the cashier, is to be the best part of that person's day. I want them to remember this interaction, and not selfishly. I want them to feel so good about this interaction that it helps brighten their day and kind of almost give them a sense of hope and faith in humanity, because I know that there's so much negativity in the world today. So this happened a week ago. This man smiled at me and said good morning, and that's all that he did. And you know what? I smiled, and I walked a little bit further, and I took my hood down. I was like, okay, I'm going to be okay. I just need to stay focused and get my head right. So that smile that he gave me, and I'm sure he didn't intend to, literally changed my mindset in that moment. And it made me feel so much better. And I know it sounds silly, but a smile has a huge impact. If somebody smiles at you, and not in a creepy way, you know what I'm saying? If somebody smiles at you and looks like they truly, genuinely care, that positive energy is contagious. Negative energy is contagious as well. So keep that in mind. They're both contagious. But which one are you going to give off and which one are you going to take in? That's up to you. So then I got back from a walk and I said, you know what? I have a ton of bags of ice that I've created with I bought an ice maker off of Amazon for the ice trough that Stone and I have. And we are actually going to, when he comes home, build our own ice trough that doesn't require ice. So stay tuned for that, because we are going to put out content on that for you guys to be able to follow along with the process so that you can do it on your own. And I had like 9 bags of ice, and I was like, okay, I'm going to load all these bags of ice and I'm going to throw them in there, and I'm going to try to reduce the inflammation that I feel on my back, because I knew there was a nerve involved because of the sharpness and the tingling, but I also knew that right now it was so tight because of the inflammation that I did to it the other day, which is putting too much strain on it. So I was like, I need to reduce this inflammation, and I think an ice bath will be the best way to do it. So I loaded up all the ice. It was really cold, and it felt fucking amazing, and I was in there for 4 minutes, 10 minutes in the sun, and then another 4 minutes, and then into a hot shower. And it felt unbelievable. Like my back was a lot looser, and my mind was a lot more clear because of it. And then throughout that entire day, it was kind of going back and forth with, okay, I'm going to work, I'm going to do my client programming, I'm going to record a podcast, I'm going to focus on content, I'm kind of going to get my mind off of the back and off of the fact that I can't work out today. So I did a lot of stretching as well. And I also contacted a friend because I was like, you know what? I have a lot of resources. How can I use my resources to help me get better in this moment and to make something good out of this back injury? So one thing that I did is I contacted a friend, and she gave me a recommendation to a PT that helped her and said that he literally changed her life. So I immediately scheduled a virtual appointment with him, with Dr. Lee, and we had a virtual appointment on Monday. He did a movement assessment, and I've been doing exercises that he's been providing me with this entire week that have made such a huge difference on my back, to the point where right now, sitting here, I can tell you honestly that I'm almost 100% better. And with all of the PT and the little exercises that we're doing, I'm working on improving my imbalances to prevent this from happening again and be able to become a stronger, better athlete. Because one of the things that we noticed is that I have a huge imbalance with my hip strength, with my IT band tightness, with my adductor strength. And those little things add up. So if I can address those things, I'm going to be able to squat more. I'm going to be able to snatch more. I'm going to be able to move more powerfully. And that's only going to help me become a better athlete. So that's the good that's coming from this. What other good has come from this back injury is I learned that it's okay to fucking slow down sometimes. Slow down in the sense where, hey, we don't always have to be rushing. And I feel like a lot of us feel like we are always rushing, even if we're not. And that just causes more stress, more anxiety that is completely unnecessary and distracts you from what's actually important for you to focus on. So this week, I've been so much more focused. My mindset has been so much more clear. I've been so clear on my mission and my vision. I've been able to show up better for my clients. I've been able to show up for people who want to become clients and want to improve their life. I've been a better athlete because I've been paying more attention to my body. I've been more intentional about the movements that I'm doing. And I've never been happier coming off of something that I didn't think I would get through, which sounds silly to think about, but I thought that this is going to really mess me up. And I was in a time for a few weeks with this back injury, with Stone leaving, with me having a pretty terrible month in business where I got in my own head because I became complacent. And on Saturday night, a week ago, after I recorded that podcast for you guys, and after I contacted the PT, booked the appointment, and took that rest day, it was late at night, and I was watching some YouTube videos, and I was on the couch, and I was thinking, and I was working, and I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck feeling sorry for yourself. Fuck it all. You can build a big, powerful business that can impact so many lives. You can become a professional CrossFit athlete. You can be the best wife to your husband. You can be happy. You can be fulfilled. You can be the best damn coach in the business if you want to be. But you have to get out of your own way, and you have to get out of your own head. Because every single time that I start to succeed, I have that self-sabotage. I tell myself I don't deserve it. I don't deserve success. I'm not good enough. But I'm done doing that. And if you're that person who finds that they do that whenever they find a little bit of success in their life, or where they find that they're progressing, whether it be with fitness, in their career, in their family life, and you self-sabotage by telling yourself that you're not deserving of success and happiness, you don't have to fall into that habit. You can break the cycle, but the only way that you can break the cycle is by putting in the work and taking action to work on yourself, to care about yourself, to be about you. You have to take care of yourself because how you speak to yourself matters. If you continuously call yourself a failure, call yourself a loser, tell yourself you're never going to make it, then you're never going to make it. But you can change that by simply just changing the way that you speak to yourself. Maybe you're not exactly where you want to be, and that's okay. If you are, then you're complacent. You can be proud, but never satisfied, and that's where I'm at. I'm proud of the work that I've put into this point. I'm very excited about where I'm at and where I'm going, and I cannot wait for the future because this is when I start taking care of myself. This is the season of Caitlin actually taking care of herself. Hired the PT to work on those imbalances that have been limiting me for so long with my scoliosis, with my pelvis, with my hips. I got my hormones tested, and I'm going to be starting peptide therapy, which I will be keeping you guys updated with. And this week, I'm going to be recording an episode of the podcast all about my hormones and all about what I'm doing moving forward, working with Joy Wellness. And I'm working on myself mentally. And I'm not standing in my own way. If I have something that I want to do, I'm going to do it. If I have an idea that I want to do, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to just list out all of these ideas and say, I'll get to those things when I feel like I can, when I feel like I have the knowledge, when I'm in the right mindset, I'm going to do those things instead. Because I know that it's not about me, it's about my mission, my vision to impact as many people as possible and show you guys that you are limitless so long as you put in the work and never quit. So I hope that this episode was valuable for you guys. If it was, please let me know. Shoot me a DM on Instagram, send me an email. I want to hear from you guys. But please share this episode so we can spread the mission of the Powerhouse Mentality and bring more people into our community. Go out and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.